Here's News 10 NBC at noon with Rebecca LeClaire and meteorologist Kevin Williams. Live, local, and up to the minute.
Good afternoon. I'm Wendy Wright here for Rebecca LeClaire today, who's on maternity leave. You've already noticed, I'm sure, it's a gloomy day out there. Jim Lanson is in today for Kevin Williams in the Doppler 10 Storm Center.
Wendy, we have plenty of clouds right now, and just a fine mist downtown, but the areas south of the city of Rochester on the Bristol Hills and also around Warsaw and Wyoming counties, the snow is coming down at a fairly good clip. Light to moderate snow there. In Warsaw, they've received 5 inches of snow this morning. There is just a little more snow on the way, but the cold is going to linger the rest of the afternoon, Wendy. I'll be back in a few more minutes with our complete 5-day forecast. Hopefully, we'll have some good news, and maybe the temperature will warm up by the weekend.
Let's hope so.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Topping our news this noon hour, a happy reunion for a Brighton mother and her daughter who's been missing for months. 14-year-old Kira O'Connell is safe and sound. Police found her yesterday in a small Midwestern town. She'll be reunited with her family today. Ron Plants has the very latest on this developing story.
Well, Wendy, from what we understand, within the hour, Kira's mother, Cheryl Keene of Brighton, and other family members are expected to see Kira at the Williamson County Sheriff's Department in Marion, Illinois. As you pointed out, they know that she's safe and healthy, but there are still plenty of questions here.
Welcome home. That's what I want to say to her.
As Kevin O'Connell considers how to greet his niece Kira, he's also pondering the strange circumstances of the story, which first began December 19th. That's when the 14-year-old freshman student from Rush Henrietta High School allegedly met 22-year-old Brooker Maltese at the Marketplace Mall, and they began their cross-country journey. The honor student apparently connected with the Air Force enlisted man on the computer internet. The case was highly publicized, including an appearance on the WHEC-TV show, which Michelle Robertson of Energy, Illinois, watched Wednesday morning.
I was watching Maury, and all of a sudden they said Brooke Maltese, and they started showing this picture, and I went hysterical.
Robertson immediately called police.
I worked with the guy. I didn't know he was anything like that.
The Williamson County Sheriff's Department arrested Maltese in the Illinois town around 6 o'clock last night.
I believe, though, that he knew that there were warrants on him. And at this time, we have one warrant from the United States Air Force Office of Special Investigations. He's wanted for absence without leave.
What I know is that right now she's in the custody of some authorities in Illinois. You know, what she's been through over the last 4 months and so forth, I have no idea.
Kira's uncle was also asked last night if he felt she really wanted to come home.
That's my belief, yeah. On the other hand, you know, kid has been manipulated for 4 months. And I haven't spoken with her. That's rather hard to tell.
Now, we understand that Kira did speak with her mother by phone, but apparently both were overcome with emotion, so it's hard to say exactly what they discussed. It's still not clear what kind of hold Maltese allegedly had on the girl, who reportedly at age 14 did not date much prior to their meeting. Authorities are also again trying to determine the extent of their relationship, Wendy.
So, Ron, what happens to Maltese now?
Well, Maltese, as the gentleman from the Sheriff's Department pointed out, he's still considered an active-duty Air Force enlisted man, so he's absent without leave from Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska. Technically a deserter for the past several months, so he'll be charged as such and turned over to the Air Force. The question is, what about further charges such as kidnapping or even statutory rape, since she is a minor? Again, that's why they really need to determine the extent of this relationship, Wendy.
And Ron, there are many questions about exactly where Kira and Maltese have been for the past few months and how they've occupied their time. We can trace part of the journey that they are believed to have taken. Before the girl's disappearance, Maltese communicated with the girl over the internet from his home on a military base near Omaha, Nebraska. It's believed he traveled from there to Rochester to pick up Kira. She was last seen in Rochester when her mother dropped her off at the Marketplace Mall. After Kira disappeared from Rochester, she was spotted with Brooker Maltese in a restaurant in a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri. Troubling stories began to emerge then that the couple may have also been chatting over the computer with members of a vampire cult. We don't know where they've been since they left Kansas City, except that they were found in the small town of Energy, Illinois. We're told that a coworker recognized Brooker Maltese when his picture was shown on a national talk show yesterday, and then that coworker notified the authorities. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has been involved in this case for months, and today center officials are speaking out about how Kira was tracked down. Susan Ashline has the very latest in a live report from the agency. Susan?
Never underestimate the power of the media. That was the message today coming out of a press conference at the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now, that press conference wrapped up just moments ago. Since Kira O'Connell's disappearance, the center, along with volunteers, has helped print and distribute close to 100,000 posters and flyers. On top of that, Kira's family had been booked on several talk shows. In fact, as we mentioned, it was an appearance on the Maury Povich show yesterday that brought in the tip.
Most leads on missing children's cases come from neighbors and friends who might see something suspicious in their area. That, you know, without posters, without media, they won't ever see that child's face, and that's what makes the difference.
Now, the role of the Center for Missing and Exploited Children is not yet over. They can actually help with other things. For instance, they can help with paying for plane tickets and other ways of helping to safely get this child back home. Wendy?
Well, Susan, you mentioned that there are thousands of posters still posted around town. What should people do? Take them down now?
Yeah, there sure are a lot still up there. This was interesting. They actually mentioned that it would be a good idea to leave some of those posters up and actually take a marker and write the word recovered on them. That way it's positive and it's upbeat and it lets people know that children, yes, are actually found.
Okay, thanks a lot, Susan. And today is the day Kira's mother has been hoping and praying for. She's been hoping for this reunion since her daughter's disappearance. Cheryl Keene flew to the Midwest to be reunited with her daughter today. Keene is expected to bring her daughter back home to Rochester later today, and we'll have complete coverage of this developing story tonight at 5 and 6 on News 10 NBC. There's more news ahead, including a terrible story about another airbag death involving a toddler. And Newt Gingrich gets a helping hand from another prominent Republican, and it may just be enough to get the controversial House Speaker out of hot water. Find out why when we come back.
Tonight on News 10 NBC's Live at 5.
Every time you go in the grocery store, you see them, people handing out food samples. Stores say it's an important selling tool, but could those samples make you sick?
I was having burning in my wrist.
Many people think they suffer from carpal tunnel pain, but now researchers have found a way to tell for sure.
Join Janet Lomax and Ted Coffey on News 10 NBC's Live at 5 tonight. Live, local, and up to the minute.
Want to spread a little sunshine by giving somebody an easy bouquet? Well, not a regular bouquet, but...
Must-see TV tonight and all new friends. Ow! Rachel's injured, but don't worry, Ross will help her get ready for her date. There you go. Then an all-new Susan. The gang's in the mountains for some R&R, if they survive.
What was that? If I'm not mistaken, it was Ned Beatty squealing like a pig.
And on Seinfeld, it's Cosmo Kramer, Rooster Boy. Then it's the new show critics are raving about.
It wasn't a dream. I really am poor.
An all-new fired up NBC tonight.
More trouble ahead for Bausch & Lomb. Rochester's third largest Fortune 500 company is reportedly going to slash spending by $100 million, and that could mean more jobs. Bausch & Lomb won't confirm anything until April 23rd when it releases first quarter earnings, but a print report says the company is trying to revive its stock price. B&L has been under pressure from shareholders because of lackluster sales and earnings. The company began a similar cost reduction program a couple of years ago. It looks like Newt Gingrich has found a way to pay his ethics fine and save his future career, too. The embattled House Speaker is getting some help from a Republican friend, former Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole. Gingrich is borrowing $300,000 from Dole to pay his fine for violating ethics policies. That means Gingrich won't have to pay campaign funds or won't have to use the funds to pay his penalty, and analysts said that move could have been career suicide. From Florida today, another tragic death involving a child and an airbag. This time the toddler was sitting on his mother's lap. The accident happened when the car the child was in was rear-ended by another car. The airbag deployed, crushing the child to death as he sat in his mother's arms. The mother is hospitalized and officials aren't releasing details of her condition. Police are still investigating this accident. The well-being of all children in America is the focus of a day-long conference at the White House. President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary are hosting the event. One major finding reported already will encourage more parents to read to their children. Scientific research shows that reading to a child can literally cause the brain to grow. Talks on this information today will help determine how parents, teachers, and policymakers can best use it. Scientists say reading to infants and children is vital to their emotional, intellectual, and neurological development. Some past presidents are getting together today. Coming up later, we'll take you to the Gerald Ford Museum. It's being rededicated in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with honored guests, Presidents Bush and Carter. But first, Jim Lanson is here. Some snow in the outskirts of Rochester.
That's right, Wendy. Cloudy and gloomy here in the city itself, but in the hills to the south, a winter wonderland with up to 5 inches of snow in Warsaw. There is more snow in the forecast for the afternoon. I'll have that coming up in just a couple of minutes.
You're watching News 10 NBC at noon with Rebecca LeClaire and meteorologist Kevin Williams. Live, local, and up to the minute.
Cloudy and rainy and maybe even some snow headed our way. Jim Lanson's in the Doppler 10 Storm Center for Kevin Williams today.
Wendy, the cold air keeps filtering its way into western New York, and where the air has been the coldest, the precipitation has been falling all in the form of snow. That being in the hilltops south of town. Warsaw has received 5 inches since the snow began early this morning. They did have a lot of problems in Wyoming County on the roads, and hopefully even the plows may be out in that region. Here downtown, we're expecting no problems from the weather this afternoon, unless you're going to be outdoors and wanting to get a picnic in, because that weather will not cooperate. We have a low overcast sky producing some pockets of drizzle. The normal low temperature for today is 37 degrees, and that is all we're mustering right now. Wind chill at 24 with a raw wind off of Lake Ontario out of the northwest at 10 miles per hour. Putting radar into motion from the last few hours, you can see the pocket here of precipitation really not moving much. And in the hills to the south, around Avon, just south of there, almost along Route 20 and further south around Dansville, Swain, even Mount Morris and Geneseo, you are seeing a changeover to all snow, looking for an additional 1 to 2 inches there. But the snowfall amounts since it all began early this morning have ranged quite greatly. Nothing here downtown except some light rain. 1.4 inches of snow fell in Metro Buffalo. That actually at Cheektowaga, the airport location there. Batavia 2 inches. It didn't coat the thruway at all, but it has led to damp roadways, of course. And the highest amount, we can update this to the minute, 5 inches now in Warsaw, and again, some of the hills south of town around Waterloo and also Canandaigua will see some of this action, at least light snowfall occurring. We have plenty of cloud cover, a few sucker holes. These are breaks in the overcast, but plenty of precipitation as that low pressure continues to drift onto the east, and that will give us a return flow out of the northwest. So there'll be more precipitation not only for the afternoon, but this evening and tomorrow. Hopefully, the weekend should cooperate. We'll have more on that in just a second. The trough of low pressure carves its niche here, leading all that cold weather out over the desert southwest at 74 at Phoenix at this hour, headed to a high of 89 degrees. If you want warmth, head there. Large dome of high pressure over the midsection of the country continues to bring in that southeast wind there. Locally for us, low pressure off the Atlantic seaboard tomorrow will intensify, almost a classic nor'easter, so it's really going to pound the Adirondacks. We'll look for a little bit more snow shower activity tomorrow, so it's not going to be the best of weather over the next several days. In the short term for this afternoon, damp and chilly, just a couple of sprinkles downtown, some more snow showers, especially on the hilltops south of Routes 5 and 20, an additional 1 to 2 inches. It could coat the grassy surfaces in the eastern Finger Lakes. I don't think you're going to have to shovel it, but if you're watching us in Warsaw, you'll be shoveling it because it's not going to melt over the next couple of days. A high this afternoon of 39, a raw northwest wind at 10 to 20. Wind should increase higher than 20 miles per hour, so we don't believe there should be any significant additional erosion on the Lake Ontario shoreline. For this evening, the chill continues with some scattered snow showers, a coating on the grassy surfaces in town, a good possibility with a low of 28 degrees. Your 5-day forecast, a little bit of improvement for the weekend, but tomorrow another damp and raw day, a high of 42, a few peaks at the sunshine very late, but nothing to write home about. We'll reach near 51 on Sunday and 51 on Monday, Wendy, so a little bit of a warm-up in sight. Still below the normal high temperature, but the snowfall that there's there now in the hills will be melting by that time. It's a taste of winter in mid to late April here.
Right, and we might have perfect polar bear weather today to pick the winning Name the Cub entry, and there it is, the cute little baby polar bear who will find out its name when you do. Thousands of entries went through our Name the Cub contest, and we will announce the winner tonight live from the Seneca Park Zoo, so be sure to tune in tonight at 6 o'clock to find out its name. Today, Mr. Food has a sweet idea, give someone a cookie bouquet.
It's time to spread a little sunshine by doing something unexpectedly nice for someone. I mean, it's almost Secretary's Day, and Mother's Day is right around the corner, and besides, even if we don't have a special reason, it's still fun to make someone happy. But, how can we stand out from the crowd and do something a little different? That's easy. I mean, there's nothing that says it better than flowers, but there's no need to give the same old, same old. unless we put a little twist on it, like this. We make our favorite chocolate chip dough, and we drop tablespoons of batter on a cookie sheet. Now we insert a skewer or a popsicle stick on the side, and we bake it. And when it's cool, we wrap them in wax paper or colored plastic wrap or tissue, and we tie them with a ribbon. We've got the makings for some long-stem beauties that'll melt their hearts while they're melting in their mouths. You see, that little extra effort really does go a long way. And if we don't want to make it all from scratch, refrigerator cookie dough works great too. And you don't have to wait for spring to spring this little surprise on them. I mean, they're so easy and different. They're super year-round smile makers. And if you'd like the recipe idea, just send a self-addressed stamped envelope marked Cookie Bouquet to me, Mr. Food, right here at the station. We'll get it back to you for being the best of the bunch. I mean, these are as much fun to give as they are to receive. And enjoy eating, too. So everybody gets to say, oh, it's so good.
And you can get Mr. Food's recipes on the internet. Here's our website address, www.10nbc.com. Up next, a plus-size fitness instructor comes to town, and she has some advice that could help even the most devout couch potato get started on an exercise program. But first, a look at Wall Street. News 10 NBC's exclusive index is up, and now for a check of the rest of the day's stock activity. Welcome back. Joining us today is Dee Hackala, who is a plus-size fitness instructor and a woman who has just written a book. It's called Thin is Just a Four-Letter Word. Thanks for being with us
thank
today.
you. How are you, Wendy?
Good. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
You have advice for women who not necessarily are just trying to lose weight, but to be fit at the size they're at.
That's right. Well, the basis of the book and my own personal philosophy comes from being overweight all my life, and realizing that having tried every diet in this country, I got to a point back in 1989 I talk about in the book called critical mass. I was approaching 350 pounds with high blood pressure, diabetes, and back problems, and I realized that most of my life it had been, you know, to fit into that dress or to get the date, but I was killing myself in the current shape I was in, and I needed to get up to do something about it.
And getting started, particularly for women who are overweight and have been overweight most of their lives, is sometimes the hardest thing.
Totally tracking with you. I totally agree. In fact, if it weren't for a friend that had bought me a gift certificate and dragged me over to this club, I probably would have never went. But I realized when I got inside, even though the room was filled with what I call thong-clad hard bodies, I needed to be in that room, and I wanted to feel like I could be a part of that norm. And I think by trying, I realized that my perception of myself was starting to change. And even if I couldn't keep up, trying was succeeding for me. And I think that's really the foundation that started the real mental change, that fitness comes from the inside out. And genetically, we're just not all going to look like the models on the covers of magazines, but that doesn't mean we should sit on the couch and not try to get fit.
But you said even sitting on the couch is something people can get started at. You can burn calories that way.
That's right. In fact, while we're going to sit here on the couch, I think movement is the biggest thing, and knowing that there are so many different options out there to move. And even though that we're kind of dressed up here, could you sit in a chair and jog your legs and take about 5 minutes of jogging and maybe do some bicep curls as you're seated? A lot of times people that are very inactive can't necessarily start running marathons, and you really shouldn't. But there are 5 minutes a day, whether it's raking or whether it's a little extra housework. Functional fitness is very achievable for everyone if they will try.
We thank you very much for explaining all of this to us today.
Well, thank you.
And this is a book that's in most of the local bookstores, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding it. We'll be right back. rain does not look like it's going to disappear this afternoon.
No, Wendy, damp and chilly for the metro, but again on the hilltops south of town where temperatures are even colder, the snow will continue there. An additional 1 to 2 inches. Temperatures falling from 38 at 3 o'clock to 32 at 9. There could be a few slick spots on area roadways late tonight after dark, so everybody should be advised of that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jim. 3 former U.S. presidents were on hand today in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It was to celebrate the rededication of the Gerald R. Ford Museum. Past presidents Jimmy Carter and George Bush and their wives joined Lady Bird Johnson in offering congratulations to Gerald Ford and his wife. A $5 million renovation project upgraded the 16-year-old museum. Among the exhibits added the tools used in the 1972 Watergate break-in. President Ford termed the museum as a classroom of American democracy.
He looks good, too.
Yeah, certainly. All those presidents together in one place.
Right. Just watch out with Gerald Ford golfing, though. You take one on the noggin.
I don't know if any of that will get in the museum, though.
No, I doubt it.
We thank you very much for joining us today on News 10 NBC. We'll be back tonight at 5 and 6 with all the latest news stories for you. Have a great afternoon. Watch out for the rain out there.
And the snow, too. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
If you have a news tip, call the News 10 NBC hotline at 232-1010 or star 10 on your Frontier Cellular phone. For all the safety, security, and convenience you need, Frontier Cellular.